dig a hole, put this plant in the ground and dig a hole and pour water into it, the water will flow all around the top, all around the plant, the root base. It's not going to go in, it's going to soak out into the ground. So the poor things, you can put it in the ground, get all the water you want, it isn't going to go in it because I can't do it, all that, I'm drowning it. So they have to be plied a little bit. Same with human beings and their bodies at times. But one has to be gentle because the roots in these things can be quite tender. Right? So you don't want to distress the plant, so you must be loving with the plant. Because they do have feelings. Like for example, someone once got a cactus and put it inside a glass encasing and played nice music to it and told it that it was protected now. It was inside this laminated glass and no one could get to it, and over a long period of time the cactus actually dropped its spines. Yeah. So you can see that I'm still battling to get this thing free from all this. So what we can do, the advantage of finding a nice little tree like this, you can see the base here, how thick the trunk is on this. It's already, as everyone knows about the bonsais, you can buy these really cheap in nurseries and convert them into bonsais because they're already well down the path, becoming quite a nice little bonsai tree. Whereas if you get a tree that's only I'll give an oak tree and you go and buy it and it's fairly new, it's only maybe 2-3 years old or something, and it's been growing freely, it'll just be taking off and growing upward and outward, and the trunk will be long and slender, won't have any thickness to it at all. And you'll have to take a long time to just see.
So, if that tree is like a tree of life, if we are screwed up and we're very young, we end up being a bonsai and the rest of our life we can cultivate being a bonsai.
Well, you can, but the reality of something like that,
yeah,
that's so good with it, is if the tree is grown on a great restriction, over a period of time it becomes quite a beautiful and attractive thing.
Okay, thank you.
So there's quite a deal of resistance in this plant. What we can do is once we break all this open...
So it doesn't damage it when you're doing it like that?
Take off, because what I'll do, after I've taken off a lot of its restriction, I'll actually trim it back and cut back a lot of these branches out here. So I won't have as much to feed anymore,
okay,
won't have as much to take care of. So same with people, who've got a lot of things going on in their life, and you try and cut them back, you're like, hang on, I've got to manage this, and I've got this business, and I've got that to do. So you cut all this off, and then it doesn't have to look for all this nourishment that it was getting before, and then again it wasn't really getting that much because it was so uptight that it wasn't really absorbing much anyway. So you cut a lot of this off, and what we do is once we wash it, cut a lot of that off, trim a lot of the root off, we trim back the branches, cut it back so it hasn't got as much to feed, and then we give it a nice mix when we repot it so it gets, it hasn't got many roots, but it hasn't got much to feed, and it's got all the nourishment.
So what's in the mix?
And it's the same with people. And you can use this as a seaweed mix.
What's in it?
It's a seaweed mix.
Oh, seaweed mix,
yeah. And again, you've got to be careful as to what plants, same with people. You can't just feed them, you know, like a lot of natives, they won't like too much phosphates, things like that. Well, phosphates particularly, natives don't need a lot of nutrition in them, so the seaweed one is quite good.
And does it make a difference with the roots if you break them or if you're actually cutting them?
Well, if in the main roots you get them, they'll trim them. When I get it down, I'll actually cut them because yes, it does. If you cut them, this is quite fine. There's a lot of fine roots in this. See, I'm getting into here now. There's a nice big root in there, so I won't break that root. What I'm looking for is to get to the big roots. Then I'll get the end of it, and then yes, I'll cut it. Because what it'll do is callus over where I've cut it, and then it'll throw out small feeder roots from where it's cut off. Right? So just to come back, we get a tree like such, and we cut it off. So if this branch is coming out and it's interfering with other people and other things, or my cars, I'm coming in the driveway or the power lines, we cut it off, and then immediately we might lose one thing, but then we've got two things. Right? And it's the same with new things. When you cut back people and trim them back, they're a little bit delicate and they're really easy to break when they're just new. But from that one stump over a period of time, you can see here from cutting this off, there's now 3. So although when we cut something off somebody, or someone cuts something out of their life, that will then be held back, but the energy's still there, so then it's going to say, well, where's it going to go now? So if we create a structure within the life, and I make a nice format here, and I say, okay, I'm going to bring this branch out over here, so I get a little bit of Y on this, and I twist it around the branch like so, and then I bend it, and I bring it down a little bit, because the natural sugars tend to float upwards in a tree or plant. So when you bend it down, it actually slows it down. It doesn't stop it, but it slows it down. It's not going straight up there and going crazy and going full on vigorous. So I slow down its growth so I can grow it out, and then I can form and shape it and make it into the shape that I want. And if I have pictures that I pass around, that's just within nature. That tree is grown on a mountain in the ice and the snow and the cold. So it's like, bloody hell, you know, grow out in here, this is bloody freezing. So it holds it and it doesn't develop quickly. But when we look at it, what a beautiful piece of wood that would be to have in your lounge room once it had moved on, and to take the trunk from it, because it says so many things. And that's the same, I think, with people, that even although they've had such an incredibly hard life, we were talking about Sean Connery the other day, even though he was an alcoholic and he was drinking all and he's doing all this stuff and he was in his relationships and stuff, when he came out the other side of that, the wisdom that he's got now and the knowing that he's got from his own personal experience, that people feel from him and they see it in his face and they're attracted to it because he's been there, he's done it. So my message today is that even with any restriction that we feel that we've got in our life or anything, the longer you've been carrying it, the greater that it is, and the more special that it is.